Welcome back to another episode of The Sweet Spot. This is John Sherman from the Four Foundations of Golf. And as always, I'm joined by
Adam from Adam Young Golf.
We still don't have that jingle 5 years later.
How many episodes have we done now? That'll be 250. 250
No,
almost.
you're way off. It's like 160 or 170, something like that.
We've been lazy.
Well, it's hard for us sometimes because we don't cover current events. So like you and I have to come up with topics and obviously get questions and guests, or content creators in general, they're just kind of reacting to a news event or maybe a sporting event. So that's why we're a bit different. We're an evergreen show. So always a reminder, if this is your first episode, we have this massive library of content that is not time related. It exists in the, I don't think anything we've ever said on this show will go out of fashion. Hopefully not. So it's all evergreen content. So yeah, I think we've got over, I would say 250 hours of content, more than that.
At least, yeah. Some of our episodes like
we talk
3
a lot.
hours.
Yes. So that's where we're at. So we have a few topics today. Oh man, this one's a real doozy. I sent Adam a voice note that was probably 4 minutes long describing what I witnessed last week in a tournament with a playing partner. The wildest thing I've ever seen. And one of the reoccurring questions we get from audience listeners is, how do I deal with a distracting playing partner? I believe we did an episode on this a few years ago. It's a constant battle in golf because it's a shared experience. And whether you're a PGA Tour player, a beginner, there are moments you get in on golf courses where someone does something that is distracting. And I witnessed something that I never thought I would witness in a tournament. We will discuss that today. That's a bit of a teaser. We have some other topics. Do you want to talk about how someone swing shamed you first on social media?
Yeah, I could go with that one.
Yeah. Adam got swing shamed. This is why I don't post my swing. I don't want to get swing shamed.
It was fine. Yeah, it's a catch-22 because obviously everything we talk about promotes the idea that it's not swing aesthetics that matter. It's all about impact and repeatability, consistency, quality of impact. But then you can't get away from the fact that other people looking at your swing can't get away from aesthetics. They see your swing.
Honestly, I do it too. If I look at someone's golf swing, there is a immediate, like, visceral, like, reaction to what it looks like. You cannot help that, right?
Yeah.
You've swing shamed me.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
And part of me as a coach wants to say, well, it may be more helpful to my business to make my swing look a certain way and play golf. You know, the way that people would typically enjoy a swing. They say, oh, your swings are beautiful. Look at the backswing positions. But then the other part of me is like, well, screw that. I'm promoting the message that those things don't necessarily matter. And so the other part of me says, I want to go, I don't want to swear on the podcast, but I want to go, screw it. I'm going to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum and say, how ugly can I make my swing and still play good golf? And I think the sweet spot is somewhere in between those things. But yeah, there were definitely times in my career where I prioritized look, or at least I thought that was the route to getting better golf. If I make my swing look a certain way, pretty, aesthetic, symmetrical, I'm going to play much better. And I did to a certain extent because I was in those early stages of development. So anything you do, it's like if you go to the gym and you do complete mess up exercise, things that are just like ridiculous, you will still improve because you're in the early stages of development. Similar in golf as well. You could take a complete beginner, and if you give them the worst advice, they'll still probably get better over the course of a year because they're going to learn how to hit it better. Even if it's bad advice, but eventually you reach a plateau. But anyway, on Instagram, I posted some just decent shots that I've collected over this year, because every time I've been going out now, I've got my girlfriend with me. She's a golfer, and I just say, oh, do you mind videoing this? So we don't capture every shot, but I've got a collection of shots that are pretty cool. And then I added with that app, the trajectory of the shot. Yeah, Shot Tracer app. So it looks visually appealing. I posted a montage, but not with Rocky music, but of some of my better shots in the year.
You should
And
have
yeah,
done it to Rocky music.
I should have, yeah. Um, I got a comment from someone, and it was actually well-meaning, and I didn't take any offense to it. In fact, some of my followers took more offense to it. But the person said something along the lines of, "If I ever want to show someone a really good golfer who has an ugly slash horrible, horribly mechanical swing, I would send them to you."
That is the classic back. I mean, I cannot tell you, we've discussed this on the show before, like the amount of backhanded like compliments you receive as a content creator online are unbelievable. Like someone, I have like a running joke with friends where I'll get an email, I'll screenshot it and send it to them. And like someone will just say, "You've been so helpful. I love your book, blah, 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 blah." But, and then give me the worst insult I've ever received in my life. And I'm like, how, I'm like, what is this thing that you're like, you're complimenting me, but also like just bringing me down at the same time? I've got enough of them where I don't take them personally anymore, but there's a certain segment of internet consumption person that loves to do that thing to you. And it's interesting. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I love your info, but I absolutely hate your voice and and your accent.
Yes, I've absolutely gotten stuff like that where like, you give great information, but literally can't stand the way you speak or you talk about yourself too much. And I'm like, well, then maybe I'm not the person for you. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's interesting. I'm gonna click on this thing now. I'm trying to find the comment as on Instagram. Yeah, so I kind of replied with, yeah, I mean, I agree with the person. I don't like the way my swing looks, but ultimately, who does? Whoever looks at this swing and go, yeah, I've got it. I've nailed it. Like even Tiger Woods in his prime used to still talk about, yeah, my swing's not there yet. I'm still working on things. I don't like this about my swing and that about my swings.
Yeah. I once witnessed Adam Scott on the driving range videoing his swing literally like 40 times. I'm like, what is he looking for? But he's obviously looking for something, right? He knows what to look for.
Yeah. And even these best swings in the world, like they don't hit every target. So there's
There's
always
always
a
something
reason.
to,
If you
yeah,
want
yeah,
it, if you want it to
yeah,
be there, there's a reason to change your swing. And so
yeah,
even
yeah.
the nicest looking swing is, and ultimately there's always going to be a teacher with a theory that says, oh yeah, this is why your swing's not working. Sometimes that might be accurate or correct. Sometimes it may just be based on a complete ridiculous theory about what makes something repeatable. I mean, I like Sasha McKenzie's who knows everything about physics and biomechanics as far as golf is concerned. And even he says there's no motion that's going to be more mechanically repeatable. There's not one motion that's, even if you take like a putting swing and then you compare it to a driver swing, they still return the face back with the same repeatability, which is insane when you think about it. It's like it defies your logic completely. But yeah, this guy, so I've actually got the comment in front of me. He said, if someone said to me, show me a great golfer with a terrible swing, I would send them to you. And I honestly mean this with no disrespect.
Right? That fits the template perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
That
to
is
be
the
honest, I
template.
didn't take any disrespect from it. Like I replied back. I was careful with my tone to try and look as if I wasn't like angry and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
passive
Thank you so
aggressive
much
back.
for your inquiry. I look forward to more from you.
Yeah. So I commented, my swing used to look prettier years ago when I prioritized it. And I said, I play much better now that I don't care. And then I asked him out of curiosity, what don't you like about the swing? And he kind of apologized. He didn't have to. He said, sorry, I shouldn't have said terrible. Maybe unconventional would be a better description. And then he said something about a baseball swing. And then he started getting attacked by, by some of my followers, which I tried to ease into it by saying, "Oh, that's fine. No hard feelings on this end. I agree with you that I don't like the look of my move, but who does?" So, what things I don't like about the look of my swing now is I take the club, my hands work outside away from my body in the takeaway. So they don't like track inside or online. They move away from my body. I separate very early. And then my club head turns inside a little bit. So then that results in me getting flatter in the halfway back. My arms get lower at the top. So I look like this now as opposed to like this when I was younger. And that's due to some flexibility things and body turn. And it may even have to do with my simulator room because I've got an 8-foot
Yeah, you
ceiling.
only your ceilings are
Yeah.
so low. It's very possible. I remember when I hit balls in your simulator, I was like gonna clip the ceiling with like a 7-iron, it felt like.
Yeah, I've definitely
There's no way
molded.
it hasn't gotten flatter because of that.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, these things that, I mean, that's an example of an environmental constraint.
Yeah, that is the Harvey Penick under the tree constraint,
Yeah. Have you ever
except the
heard,
tree is your ceiling.
I wrote an article on the runner, Haile Gebrselassie. I think he was like 800-meter runner or maybe a marathon runner, but he used to run with like a crooked arm like this. And everybody's like, why does he run like that? And apparently it's because when he was wherever he lived, he used to run to school and hold his school books
Oh, that's so
with a crooked
funny.
arm. So he basically looks like he's holding school books. So yeah, it's interesting how we kind of unconsciously link these things up. Yeah, I've got less turn at the top as well. My hands then in transition drop straight down behind me. The club then steepens. The club is behind my hands pre-impact. I have early extension in both of the swings. There's one swing in there where I actually hold the shot from like 180 yards, and I said, "Hey, look at this! I got early extension. Sucks, right?" And then my end position is shorter as well. That could be old age limitations with the body. Could be the ceiling height again in my practice facility. So
Well,
yeah,
that
all
is 100%. It has to be because you hit so many. I mean, you hit more balls in there than you do outside. There's no
oh
question,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
there's just no way.
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, there's lots of things I don't like about my swing now. But I found a swing from 2010, I think it was, where I was working on my swing. I was a lead better instructor, and it was a period where I'm like, right, I'm an instructor. I want my swing to look better. And this swing, I was focusing very much on the backswing. Now, as a more trained instructor, I can look at it and say, well, yeah, there are things in that old pretty swing that I don't like as well. But the backswing, I love the backswing. It just looks ideal. Like the takeaway position is great. Club is set more upright on the way back. I get into a perfect position at the top, really good position at the top. There is no such thing as perfect. But I didn't play as well with that. I'm not going to say I played horrible with that swing, but I certainly didn't play the level I do now. I feel like I have so much more control over the golf ball now. I don't have as many wild shots with this new swing, current swing, not new swing. Yet it looks uglier. You know, I posted them side by side. And people can tell now because I've done these kind of tricks so many times on social media. I'm like, what's the difference between these two? And then I do a trick on them or something and say, well, actually, there was no difference. What you're seeing is
Camera
the
angle.
same swing. And
Yep.
like any differences you see are a trick of the mind. So I've done these tricks a few times, but so people like obviously look at the pretty swing and they say, well, I actually prefer the ugly swing because of this, this, and this. And some people may be honest with that. Some people may know what I'm doing.
Well, it's like it's like anything else, you know. This happens with kids. So every time someone has kids, someone will say, "Oh, I think you look like him," or someone sees something different in your kids with one of your features, and someone always sees something different. It's like one of those 3D paintings that some people see it and some people don't, and no different than the golf swing is even more complex. So yeah, there's just everyone has their own instant reaction to it for a different reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your sway. It's like a little bit, probably longer
Careful.
than than most people would. I think my swing has gotten like a little more aesthetically pleasing over the last few years, but it's still I go across the line too. So I'm very across the line. I could feel it on the course at times. And yeah, it is what it is, right? Unless we did a whole thing on the Swing Your Swing years ago where we discussed that and we're like, if your swing sucks and you're getting horrible ball flight, then don't swing your swing. But if it's
Yeah.
functional and you're seeing good results and it's satisfying the big three, then yeah, then maybe you shouldn't focus on the aesthetics that much.
But even then, like if I went to an instructor and I was hitting it poorly, or if I hit enough shots, I'm going to hit a bad one, right? It's inevitable for every swing. Most people will say, "Oh, you need to change this about your swing. Oh, yeah, you need to change that steepening and transition. Oh, let's change your takeaway." Whereas now my approach is, okay, I hit it poorly. Maybe it's a little out of the toe. Okay, I'll try and hit the next one out of the heel. Simple as that. So I'm not actually changing my swing as such, or it depends on your definition of that, right? I'm changing the micro mechanics in my swing. In fact, if you look at my little montage, a lot of them I set up out of the heel of the club, and those are the days where my pattern has been a little bit toey, and I just make the exact same swing and set up out of the heel. Yeah, hit good shots with it. Why would I make it more complicated than that? And so, yeah, my approach to my own game has dramatically changed, especially if I look since I was like 15. 15, I was videoing Tiger's swing, looking at frame by frame and trying to copy his positions. Now I don't really care about my swing look. In fact, I kind of take some pride in the fact that it looks a little funky, and I can still perform well. So, when I look at that old swing from 15 or more years ago, it was prettier, the backswing, especially. I think it would be hard for anybody to argue that the backswing wasn't prettier and the top of the swing position wasn't prettier with the old swing. Yet I played maybe a scratch level, one handicap, something like that. Now, with the new, uglier swing, I've played as low as +5. So, when my putting's on, I played as low as got down to I think it was like a +4.5 when I was keeping track of it. Uh, yeah, it's an ugly emotion. So it just goes to show. I'm not saying to people go out and make the ugliest motion you can. I'm just saying, really prioritize what matters here. And over the last 10, 15 years, I've just put all my mental effort into the big three, pretty much. And maybe a little bit of path stuff as well. So the big three. And
Well, if people got to see, I guess YouTube is allowing this more, but for a long time, I didn't get to play with really good golfers. So like scratch plus level players in tournaments because I just wasn't good enough to get in those tournaments with them. But now that I'm around them all of the time, and that is a different world that a lot of golfers don't get exposed to, you see more unorthodox looking swings than you see beautiful looking swings. And, I know there's more content on YouTube with this, but like the biggest star, I guess, is Grant Horvat at this point. He has a gorgeous looking golf swing. He looks like, he could be on tour with that swing. It is a phenomenal, like very aesthetically pleasing move. And then there are other players out there who just can't do that. And you watch someone like him and you're like, oh man, that is the model golf swing. But, there are plenty of players who can hit it just as good as him, if not better, who have horrible looking swings as well. And my point is that when you see that like top 1% of golfers, I've seen more unorthodox than like someone who looks like Grant Horvat.
yeah. There's in terms of social media, guys, is it Riggs or something has been
I was going to
dug
bring him up
into
next. I don't know
a little
how
bit.
he tolerates, he clearly doesn't care because he gets an incredible amount of hate on his golf swing. And he has a hater series now on YouTube where he's like literally challenging his haters to matches. And I'm like, this is, kudos to him because that amount of negative energy I couldn't deal with.
Yeah, it's a good way to go about it. But yeah, obviously people can't believe with his swing, it looks horrible. Even the way he hits it is horrible. So there's these kind of different levels, right? A swing can look horrible, but hit it great and play great. Swing can look great, not hit it as well. It's very hard
Well,
for a swing to look great and not hit it as well. Because in order for a swing to look great, you've probably had to put a lot of work in it. No one's born with an aesthetic looking swing, really. Maybe some kids are. Yeah,
well, to be clear, him and Horvat are not at the same level. Grant is a way better golfer than Riggs is. I think Riggs is like a 4 or 5 handicap, and Grant is like very well into plus territory.
Yeah, but lots of people, I mean, you've done this yourself. I know Lou has done it as well, as guess the handicap,
Yeah,
right?
they never can guess it. Yeah.
Throw up a bunch of players' swings and say, who's the lowest handicap here? And very few people can guess it. I've even seen one with your swing thrown in there, right?
Yeah. A few instructors got it right. They like freezed me like right before impact and like that guy's the plus handicap. And because like look at the position his club's in right before. I'm like, okay, respect. Thank you.
It's interesting. Yeah, you can get a lot out of looking at an impact position, but even then,
yeah, you still don't know. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately you can be in a great looking impact position if the face is 3 degrees closed. Or if you drop an eighth of an inch, it's no longer a functional shot. I've done blog posts on that where I hit a good shot and then I hit a shot where I intentionally drop like an eighth of an inch. So I hit it 2 grooves higher on the face, right? And it's basically a chunk shot. And then I say to people, like, this is the good swing, this is the bad swing. What do you see in there? And the things that people see in there that aren't in there is incredible. Oh, you completely early released on this one. It's like, no, I didn't. And I made sure when I was doing it, all the other variables like attack angle, dynamic loft were the same. So I know I didn't release earlier because those would have changed. But yeah, people see things in there that aren't in there. Very few people came up with the right answer if you dropped in 2 grooves, because most people just don't associate that with the difference of a bad shot. But yeah, you can look the same at impact and still achieve very different outcomes. But when I think of why my old swing, when it looked prettier, why would it perform worse? Well, I mean, the main thing was it was very contrived. I was thinking about it. So you could look at the average impact numbers as well. Path was square, face was square on average, centered strike. So those averages were the same, but the variability was higher with the old swing. And I think that's been shown in the motor learning science as well, as when you're thinking about a movement, you can increase the variability, especially of multiple variables. It's an interesting one, actually. If you think about one variable, you can actually reduce the variability around or make it more consistent. So say you decided, right, I'm just going to focus on face strike. You'd actually improve that aspect, but other parameters might become more variable. So yeah, it's interesting, counterintuitive, or double-edged sword with thinking about certain things. But ultimately, it wasn't my swing. I was forcing myself into positions as well with this old, beautiful swing. Whereas now I would say this swing that I have is definitely my swing. I don't have to think about it. It's just what my body naturally wants to do. And also, a pretty backswing doesn't make a pretty impact. We've talked about it endlessly. And the other thing I would say is I'm probably more, well, I'd say definitely more target locked now. When I'm playing golf, I'm more aware of where the target is. Whereas when I was playing golf swing, it was just me positions and my brain's locked onto that. I don't know where the target is really. I'm
Well,
obviously
that's
lined up to it.
yeah, it's we have limited attention. We could refer to this as the mental budget, and where you place it can have a dramatic influence on what happens. I posted something on Twitter the other day. I was listening to, I think it was the best free solo climber in the world. He did something like absolutely insane. He was on Huberman Lab, and he was talking about his goal was to essentially, he was talking about, the question was, is when you're climbing without, does this without any safety gear, are you thinking about, the technique? Because you don't, if you mess up, you could die, obviously. And his goal, let me get the specific quote. I put it on my Twitter profile. Obviously racked my golf brain. Here it is. He said he aspires to be on autopilot when climbing. So, when he's practicing, he lives in Vegas like you do, thinks about his technique, all that stuff. That's the time to consciously work on it. When he is out on the actual climb, he doesn't want to be thinking about what his body's doing, because that's where he can make a mistake. Obviously, there are different things at stake here with climbing without, you could die. Golf swing's not that important, but obviously I saw a connection there. And then someone who does climbing jumped all over me and they're like, there is no connection whatsoever. I'm like, I get it, trust me. But you'd hear a lot of top athletes talking about this as well, as that they practice consciously. And then when it's time to perform, they leave that behind as best they can.
And in the spirit of the sweet spot, that's definitely true. If what you have is good, then you want to get out of your own way.
Yeah, you're getting out of your own way.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, the reason why they're bad is because they're getting in their own way. You could argue this person is bad, so they need to think about their swing, and there's an element of truth there. But if the reason why they're poor at golf is because they're thinking about their swing, then going into more unconscious modes is better. I often test this with players. I have certain drills that I can do with them to get them out of their own body, out of their own mind. Like I can do counting drills, or even one where I line up 10 balls in a row and just say, right, hit, next one, hit, next one, hit. And they get into a rhythm by the last few. And some people will start hitting it much better. Some people will hit it poorly. Usually most people will hit it more consistently doing that. So any patterns that they have will come out. So say you have someone with a heel biased pattern, they will start healing it very consistently. So in that case, you would say, okay, you need a thought that addresses the heel bias pattern. But if someone who typically plays quite poorly and then they all of a sudden start hitting it well, or there's another drill I do where I get on the ground and I roll the ball to them, and they have to hit the ball as it's moving. So imagine I'm rolling a ball at you face on, and you have to hit the ball out of the target 90 degrees that way as the ball is rolling to you. So it puts you in a very athletic state. In fact, there was a training aid made a couple of years ago. I saw it. It was just ridiculously expensive, but it does that. It rolls the ball to you and you hit it as it's rolling. And it's great. It's a great exercise for tapping into the instinct. And lots of people hit it so much better when they do that. And that's a sign. When that's the case, that's a sign that, okay, maybe you are too much in your head. And maybe the reason why you're not playing so well is because you're thinking too much about stuff. And okay, we're going to have to learn to tap into this more instinctive mindset.
Indeed. Shall we move on to my crazy story, or is there
Yeah.
more?
One last point
I
on the
shouldn't ask
target
that.
locked in.
There's
Yeah,
there's
sorry.
always there's
Sorry. On the target locked in one, why is that important? Well, I believe there's some unconscious good variability in lots of players that can help them. So if you think of how hard it is to line up to your target, just a simple act of alignment, like 1 degree here or there is kind of meaningful. Well, not as meaningful as most people think. What I would say is better players, and I've tested this, but I think anecdotally we all know this to be true. Better players, if you misalign them and ask them to hit a target, they'd be better at doing it. If I took Tiger Woods in his prime, or even now, and aimed him 45 degrees right and said, hit that target over there, he'd be able to pull it,
yeah,
hook it,
no
and
problem.
land it on the target, and vice versa. He's much more adaptable. And so being aware of where your target is can allow us to, if we are to make certain things like poor alignment, we can still get away with it because our body's on lined up to the target mentally. It knows where the target is mentally, and it can add good variability to get it back there. Again, I've actually tested this. I do drills with people sometimes where I intentionally aim them offline and I check how they get the ball back on target. And yeah, it's better players are better at it. Worse players continue with their same patterns. They're less adaptable. So yeah, that's the irony, right? Is most worst players think that they are not consistent enough, whereas the reality is most of them are too consistent and they can't adapt to certain situations. You put them on a side hill lie, they make the same swing. You give them a driver, they make the same swing as with a wedge. So these subtle adaptations are kind of needed for golf. So that
Yeah,
was
same
my
thing with
last.
equipment. Better players can get away with less suboptimal equipment fitting, and versus if beginner and intermediate skilled player would struggle more. So yeah, I mean, kind of a you don't want to make this game harder for yourself by introducing more barriers between you and alignment, equipment, all that stuff. But skill trumps everything. So as you get more skilled, obviously you can overcome more of these things as well. But the obvious goal is to optimize both as best you can, which that's what better golf looks like.
When you play golf, how target aware would you say you are? If you were to label it as a percentage, where are your thoughts? Are they 50% target, 50% impact?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a mixture of the target beforehand, and then when I'm actually hitting the shot, having that one focus, maybe with irons, it's the hitting the ground in front of the ball or keeping pressure on my lead side a bit more. I'm a driver, it's more of like hitting up on it. But yeah, it's very target in my routine. And then I'm switching back to my bread and butter, like focus. I would say it's a bit of both if I had to identify it as best I could.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I know I wrote about that in the book about having different locus of attention, but at different phases in your routine as well. For example, in chipping, in the practice swings, I'm super target oriented. I'm making practice swings and my brain is just locked on there. Like, how is this going to fly? How is it going to land? Then when I get to the ball, I become super impact focused. It's all
Yeah,
about strike.
I would say with putting, I'm more target oriented, like way more
Yeah.
target
And
oriented.
it changes depending on the shot. Yeah. Putting, same for me. I'm almost completely target oriented through the practice routine and during the shot as well. It might switch when I'm short putting. I become more impact focused and short putting. And then with full swings, yeah, I'm target oriented. I'd say I'm 100% target oriented in the practice swings, and then as I get over the ball, I focus on like a strike oriented thing. So you could have these three different areas of focus or locus of attention. You could have target orientation, so you're thinking only about the target. You could have a what I call process orientation, external process. So it's outside your body. So this is a strike focus, club and ball. And then you could have an internal focus, which is more body orientation. Now, if you had to ask most of the best players in the world, they're probably more external, definitely favoring target, things like that. Even guys like Bryson, as much as they talk about, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, he's predominantly keeping that to training when he's playing. I believe he's more external. I've certainly seen interviews with him where he's talked about that. Whereas the average amateur, ask them, what are you thinking of? And it's almost 100% internal, right? For most people, very few people actually think about strike or impact. Well, you probably see two different groups, right? You get the people who are not interested in instruction, people who just go out and they're probably fully target oriented. And they're the ones who need more internal instruction. And then you get the guys who are obsessed with the internal instruction and they're too internally focused.
Yeah,
And they probably
yeah,
need
it's like
more
two
external.
opposite extremes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of balancing these things. I mean, ultimately, you can test these things. That's what I do with people. I often do, right? Give me a target oriented focus, and then at the end of each shot, we rate it. You say how target focused were you, and then we work on maybe an internal thing, and then we eventually see or essentially see the results of those two different focuses, and we say, well, this one is probably going to be better for you out on the course, and then we test it on the course as well. All right, then, John, give us your story.
Okay. I don't know where to start. I've had about a week to reflect on this, and so I'm going to tell this story. This is going to be fully anonymous. I'm not here to out this person, say who they are. I'm not going to say the term. It's just there's no part of me that wants the person's name public. But it was something that I witnessed that was pretty wild, distracting. I thought it was disrespectful to the tournament. If I could go back in time, I might have reacted differently. But yeah, I figured I would go through this story for entertainment purposes. I think people will get a kick out of this. And then we can, talk about how I dealt with it. And then, obviously just kind of reaffirming the fact that we cannot control what our playing partners do. And also, we have to think about how we behave as well. I am not a saint. I have made mistakes before in tournaments. I talked about an anger outburst I had about a month ago. It wasn't crazy, but it happened. And I apologized to my playing partner who didn't care. But I'm certain I've done things that have distracted other people. But this is at a level I had never seen before. So, what was your reaction when you listened to my voice note when I sent it to you?
I mean, my reaction is it's bad. I don't think I would get to that level, especially now, but I can kind of relate to it psychopathically. I have that in me
All
where
right, fair
sometimes I
enough.
just like, I want to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well, all
suppress
right.
that feeling, but it's like, I really want to do this.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it broke the social contract in a sense. Okay, so I'll tell the story. I'll give the background. So, I was playing in a tournament that they push us to the edge in this one. It is at a difficult golf course. They always, very tough off the tee, lots of really good fairway bunkering. The ball always seems to run out in the bunkers. Very difficult green complexes, sloped back to front. They always get the greens rolling between a 13 and a 14, put the pins on slopes. So you're going into a it's a stressful tournament. We know that going into it, but that's that's what you sign up for. So the first day I played okay. I kind of gave into the difficulty and I had a rough start and just kind of managed my way I think I made the cut by one stroke. So the second day, I got paired up with a golfer who I actually had heard about a week prior. I was playing with some other players who I play a lot of tournaments with. And this guy's name came up as someone who was a bit, let's say, off color in the way he handled himself in competitive golf. He had a reputation and it was on people's radar. So when I saw I got paired up with him, my friend texted me. I'd forgotten about it. He's like, "Oh, you're playing with so and so tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I show up, we're on the putting green and everyone's warming up, hitting putts. And a guy who I'm friends with pulled me aside and he's like, "Look what that guy's doing. He was chipping on the putting green from 5 feet away. He was chipping to the hole. And these are perfectly manicured greens. They're as tight as could be. He's chipping." And I'm like, "Whoa." And then he's like
that's not
doing
the
it from
part that I said I can relate to.
no. Well, we'll get there. So I'm like, huh. And his reaction was, you can't do that. Like, you can't chip on a putting green, which is, I think, the understood code of golf, like out of respect to the golf course and the superintendent. Like, I mean, there's instances where, you've seen PJ Tour players chip because they can't get to a certain part of the green. And I've done it maybe once or twice in my life. But this guy's just chipping on the green from 5 feet, 10 feet, and 15 feet. And I'm like, oh, I'm playing with him. And he's like, oh, I'll have fun with that. Um, so we tee off, and first 4 or 5 holes, very pleasant, nice guy. We're having a nice conversation. In my head, I'm like, oh, this guy's fine, no problems. But he keeps talking about these 2 holes, and he's being very critical of the golf course. He keeps saying, this course would be perfect if it wasn't for these 2 green complexes. And granted, they are extreme. They're greens where if you're above the hole and you putt, it will go off the green. Like, you just can't stop it when they're rolling that fast. So there are a few extreme greens on this course, but he just won't stop talking about them. And he's actually playing well. I think he was like even through 5 or 6 holes, and I'm struggling. I think I was like 4 or 5 over through 4. So I'm like, okay, you don't like these 2 holes. And he's like, I love the tournament organizer, but I'm never coming back to this thing because of these, if they don't change these 2 greens. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, that's your prerogative. I'm going to keep playing golf now. But for the most part, wasn't that big of a deal. But he was harping on these 2 greens. So we get to the first one. It's a par 3, and he stuffs it to like 6 or 7 feet, but it's above the hole. And he hits his putt, and it goes, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet by, and 3 putts. He does not have a major reaction to this, but he kind of, mumbles a few words. I made a tough par on it. So I was like, okay, stole one there. Cause again, you could putt it off this green and it's just a nightmare. So we go to the next hole. I'm going to toot my own horn for a second here. I was in the trees and I had like 140 to the hole, and I hit a 6-iron. I chipped the 6-iron to 2 feet. I made birdie. It was pretty sick. He's in a greenside bunker. He hits his bunker shot to 15 feet and does not go for his putter. He starts putting with his wedge. He's bellying it. And 5 putts. I was trying to count it in my head. He just kept going back and forth to the hole. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? He's ejecting. And he was 1 over. He was just made a bogey. That was it. It wasn't like he made a quadruple bogey on the prior hole. So he 5 putts and makes it 7 or 8, whatever it was. I was still calculating in my head. I'm like, okay. So we get to the next hole, and he's on the left side of the green, and he adjusts himself perpendicular to the hole and wedges it all the way to the top of the green so it would funnel down. It was like a trick shot. And it went all the way to the top of the green and then slowly trickled down past the hole. And I'm like, oh boy, what's going on here? And then he starts chipping. He was 15 feet from the hole and he chipped. I'm like, oh, he's doing the chipping thing now. So he starts chipping on the greens and makes, whatever, a double bogey, whatever it was. And he's not like, he's acting normally to me. We're having a normal conversation. And I'm like, a bit shocked, obviously, but I'm trying to concentrate on my own round. I'm making a bit of a comeback here. And I start texting my friend. The only thing I could think of, I usually don't text when I'm playing, but I'm like, you won't believe what's going on. Like my only initial reaction was like, ha ha ha, this is funny. Like, I'm going to approach this with humor. So I'm texting my buddy. I'm like, you won't believe what's happening. And he's like, oh my God, this is crazy. We go to the next hole, the 10th hole. Driver off the deck, does not tee it up, just hits driver off the deck. I've never seen anyone do that before in my life. I'm like, okay, it's getting weirder. I hit a good drive. This is where things take the turn. I hit a good drive. I'm walking down the fairway. I look back. He's gone. He's just totally, I'm like, where did he go? He just disappeared. He reemerges without a golf bag and 5 clubs. Putter is not one of them. So, and he doesn't say anything. Doesn't say a word about this. Shows up, hits driver off the deck on a par. I actually hit a few good shots and almost made birdie, chipping on the green. So now he's chipping on the greens on every hole, and he's playing with 5 clubs. And in my head, it's obviously distracting. I'm like, what is going on? I've played, I don't know how many rounds of golf. I've never seen anyone do this before. So he's hitting shots and not getting yardages, walking up and hitting it with a random iron and
Where did
chipping
his
on
clubs go?
he just left them. He left them
On the
at the
course?
turn. Yeah, he just left his bag at the turn and took 5 clubs with him.
So you didn't leave him on the course and just completely abandon.
No, he left them. We were at the clubhouse at the turn, so he just left his bag somewhere near the clubhouse, I assume. And I just in my head, I'm again trying to focus on my own game, and then seeing this unfold, and it just keeps going on and on. And for a while, I was laughing at it in my head, but then it kind of started getting to me a bit. And again, there was no like malintent, like he was being cordial with me. We were having a good conversation. He raked a bunker for me on the 12th hole because I was on a lip and I had stepped into the bunker and made a mess. He's like, let me get that for you. I'm like, oh, thank you. So he was being nice to me, but at the same time, he was also creating this like massive distraction with like just chipping on the green, which is wild. And then we get to the next hole, that the other one that was on his list, which is a horribly difficult two-tiered green. The pin's on the back, and you could make a million on this hole because the ball can come back to you. If you're on the top tier, you can putt it off. So we're both on the bottom tier of the green, and we have about 50 feet uphill to clear the tier near the hole. It's a very daunting putt. And he is rehearsing a crazy flop shot on the green. And I'm like, oh boy. And I'm watching him rehearse this, waiting to take my turn. And he blades it through the green into the fescue behind the hole. And I'm like, oh God. And I just like kind of hastily step up to mine and putt it. And I'm like, this is going to take forever. He gets it out of the fescue, tries another flop shot that goes all the way back to the bottom of the green. And then he chips it back up. And I think he made a 9 or a 10, just ping ponging it back and forth. And at this point, I had fought back. I think I was like 2 or 3 over at that point. So I made a couple of birdies and some nice pars, but I'm like leaking bogeys at this point. And I'm like, this is not fun anymore. And I should have said something, but I didn't, because I guess one of the things I was thinking about as I was playing was, I was in a bit of shock, but at the same time I said, if I get some people I spoke to afterwards, they were like, well, I would have gone crazy on him. And my thought was, A, I'm not a confrontational person. And B, if I had confronted him, I was being selfish. I'm like, I don't know what happens at that point. And it's just me and him in the group. There's no one else there. I'm trying to shoot my absolute lowest score possible. I want to have a good finish this tournament. So I don't want a confrontation. So I just kind of let it slide. But internally, it's like, this is an incredible distraction. And it kept going. And then on the 16th hole, he was on like a lip of a fairway bunker. The ball was like 2 feet above him, and he tries to hit driver off the deck, hits it OB, hits another one that goes into the lip, just like taking, it just goes on and on and on. At that point, I'm just like, get me out of here.
Bunker.
What?
Driver out of the bunker.
No, it's hard to describe it, but he was just short of the bunker on tight fairway, but the ball was like 2 feet above him. So imagine like trying to hit a ball that's 2 feet above you on a front of a bunker lip with your driver off the deck. It's just total, like, for lack of a better term, like clown behavior. Just absolute meltdown. Yeah, at that point, I'm like, this isn't fun. I actually did climb the leaderboard. I think I finished in 19th. So I went from 35th to 19th. So, not a bad result, all things considered. And at the end of the round, he like shakes my hand and he's like, I'm so glad I did that. It made the rest of the round so much more fun. And I was like, yeah, no recognition of what had happened. Just like, what did I just witness? So I talked to in retrospect, talking to other people who are in the field, like as I digested it more, this is, you cannot do this. Like it's disrespectful to the tournament. Like when you play in a tournament situation, like we have a pact with the other players that you're going to protect the field and try your best and not distract. Like that is, you just totally ejected and made a mockery of the tournament. It was, a lot of people were like, man, that is really disrespectful to you because he distracted you. Yes, I felt that too. Like it was disrespectful to his playing partner. And also to the tournament organizer who, I did talk to him about it and he was like, whoa, it was disrespectful to him. It's a good tournament. It's a good field. And, he decided to make a mockery of it because he 3-putted on one green. Just absolutely wild behavior. Never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, sounds like a meltdown.
But it wasn't, the strange thing was, meltdowns are when someone like curses and goes crazy. This was like a silent meltdown because again, to his credit, he wasn't mean to me. He was still like kind and normal conversation. But this behavior was, just I can't think of any golfer, PGA Tour player snaps their putter and they have to putt with their wedge. Fine, that happens. But this
Yeah.
was like voluntary, like going down to 4 or 5 clubs, whatever it was. It was
I'm
just
glad you said that about PGA Tour player snaps his putter, and because that's probably my last story that is like that. Absolutely not proud, but this was the period where probably went a year without being able to hole a putt outside 6 feet. And it coincided with me hitting a lot of shots to 6 feet as well, playing the best golf I've ever done, and then not converting. And after about a year of that, yeah, I got very frustrated. I'm like, you know what, I'm done with this putter. So,
you snapped
um,
it.
yeah, I hate it. I know lots of people will look at that and be like, I've changed my opinion of you, Adam. And I'm like, yeah, it's not something I'm proud of. But yeah, there are PGA Tour players who do it, and it took a year of frustration for me to get to it. But on the topic that you said, he was quiet. I think that's pretty true of how I react. Like if I'm swearing and being loud, it's kind of jokey in a way. And if that's happening, usually I'm with friends, so we're all swearing at our own games as you do as you play golf. So if I'm in that frame of mind, it's not too bad. Like if I'm like, I'm an idiot, I'm doing this
Yeah,
and that,
yeah.
I'm not really that bothered. It's not internally affecting me. You got to be watching out when I'm silent though. If I am quiet and I look like I've given up, then I'm on the verge of a breakdown at that point.
Yeah,
It
which
doesn't
again,
happen too
it's
often.
honestly like I would have not had a problem with it if he snapped a club. It was the total abandonment of the competitiveness,
Yeah.
getting rid of his back. The chipping on the greens is like a really nice golf course is hosting us and you're chipping on the greens. Like that is a
Yeah,
that is a
that's
middle finger to the staff, everyone competing. Like it was, again, I had a conversation with other players after this. I'm like, take the temperature on this. And they were like, there, people were furious because we're out there busting our butts trying to post a number. You again, you silently eject and you say, I'm done for the day, but I'll just play my round out. This was like it was just like I don't know, it just was really disrespectful to the tournament. Maybe, I don't know, people listening to this might think that's taking it too far. But anyway, the point I'm trying to bring it up is this is a very extreme example of a distracting playing partner. And I know everyone listening to this has had different stories with people they've gotten paired up with. And as I said, I've done stupid things on the golf course too that I'm not proud of. So I'm not a saint either. But the best I could do in that situation was saying, like, he's doing this. I'm not going to say, I decided I'm not going to confront him because I felt like strategically that could be a mistake and then make things like incredibly even more awkward. I'll just play along and we'll just get through this as best I can. But I just kept telling myself during the round because I was trying to shoot my best score. I'm like, I have no control over what he's doing on over there. I've decided not to confront him. I will witness this, I'll absorb it, but I'm still going to do the best I can to control this little circle, this sphere over here that I'm in. And I played as best as I possibly could, knowing that, yeah, it was frustrating and distracting and, angering towards the end. And that's all I could do versus if I had lost my temper on him, be like, F you, man, this is ridiculous. Like I would have torpedoed my own round in the process.
yeah.
So that was my attempt at self preservation. And I probably should have said something after the fact, but I just was still so shocked that I just let it go. And again, not interested in putting his name out there at all. This is anonymous. No one will ever know it's him who's listening to this. But yeah, it was just totally wild and unacceptable behavior, in my opinion. Like you cannot chip on putting greens. Like you just can't do that.
Yeah, they're almost levels to this stuff. Pretty much where everybody does, maybe swear at themselves after a bad
Yeah,
shot.
you could drop an F bomb
Is
here or
that
there, right?
level? Yeah, I
Yeah.
do that a
Yeah.
lot. I'm not too bothered when I'm doing that. Then it goes up to like, okay, if you start shouting on the golf course or
Yeah.
hit your bag or something like that. We've all been there. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure
Absolutely.
99% of people have been there. If you're the 1%, then amazing. Like my girlfriend is so calm, so stoic with everything. But then she doesn't get to that point of aggression. She just gives up, which to me is a different form, right? A different route. And I don't think that's good either, to just completely give up on your game. And there's okay, I reach a point where it's like, okay, silence. I'm still grinding, I'm still trying. I'm silence. I'm like on a tipping point of losing it. It sounds like he's gone to a level that I think I have in me,
I
but
don't think you would ever chip on putting greens.
it wouldn't come out. It's
At
something
least
that my
belly it. It
brain
would have
would
been fine if
go,
you bellied the wedge, but he was trying to hit it off the putting green. I'm like, you're gonna chunk one of these greens and like damage it.
I think I've probably been there or close as a junior when I didn't have self-control. Now it's like, okay, yeah, I could do this stuff, but it wouldn't be fun for me anymore to even when I'm playing my worst round of golf, I still know, okay, well, let's put another ball down because this next one can be good. There's no
Yeah,
reason why this next one
yeah,
couldn't be good.
exactly.
So, I can at least take some kind of pleasure from the next shot. So I don't get to the point now of where I'm like hitting a driver out of a bunker or something ridiculous, chipping on a green. And then there's the next level, which is disrespect to playing partners and the course. If you're
Yeah.
hitting divots out of the green or something, or even chipping on the greens, not.
Well, also in a tournament, so in a competitive context, we have a lot of people who are interested in playing competitive golf. And, I've played enough of it at this point where there is an unspoken, rule amongst competitors, especially people who've done it a lot, that there's just certain things you do and don't do.
Yeah.
If you're playing poorly, no one cares. But if you're losing your temper and taking too much time and you put the group on the clock, then people care. If you're, constantly complaining about how you're playing and that's distracting, like you do your best to get out of the way if you're not playing well, right? If you're not playing well, you do your best to get out of the way of other players who might be playing well, or even if they're not playing well, they're still trying to put up a number. And yeah, the unspoken pact is we are competing against each other. We're all trying to post the absolute lowest number, but we're going to not do something to disrupt the field or any of that stuff. So there's a unspoken code there that was broken, and from what I understand, it's not the first time it's been broken with this guy. So it's a pattern of behavior. But this was like to another level that no one thought it would ever go to. Because again, like you don't want to compete in a tournament where you want to say, I beat everyone who was trying their hardest. You don't want to beat someone who put their golf bag aside and just said, like, screw this. This is a dumb golf course. I'm done with this place. Like, it just sullies the water of competition. That's why people were pissed off because they're like, man, I just grinded my ass off for 2 days in 20-mile-per-hour winds on 14 stimp greens, end of the season, like we're all kind of burnt out, but we're all still trying. And like you made a spectacle of this by doing that. And I don't like that. That was the reaction. But that's so if you again, this is extreme, but the takeaway I think for people who want to play competitively and are afraid of, some people don't know etiquette. Yeah, if you're not playing well, you get out of the way and you don't make a spectacle of, you don't lose your again, you lose your temper once or twice, people understand. You do it every hole or do stuff like this, then you start pissing people off and you're saying, well, now you're affecting my round because I'm trying to play well here. And yeah, the same goes even if you're on a public course playing a random round, you had a random playing partner. It's a shared experience. So yeah, the more I thought about this, the angrier I got, to be honest, just because, yeah, it was not the way you conduct yourself on a golf course. And I've made my mistakes too, but this was well and above. And the best we could do when this happens is, first of all, you got to choose if you want to confront the person or not. So we see clips on social media of people like fighting on golf courses. I don't want that personally. You have to decide, do I say something or not? So that's, I guess, step one, right? Do I say, hey, you're bothering me. Can you stop this? And sometimes the person would be like, so sorry, I won't do that again. Or they could choose door number two, which is F you, I'll do whatever I want. And then you've got a problem on your hands. So that's, I guess, what I was worried about because of the type of behavior that was being displayed.
Have you seen it's probably 3 years ago now, the guy who rips his shirt off on the golf course.
Oh
He's like,
yeah, he's back.
"Don't
He
mess
was
with
back.
God." Yeah,
He
I
was
know.
back last week. I don't know if that was staged or not, but he reappeared. And then there was that other one in Canada over the summer where the guy got the
Oh, the
living
hockey player.
daylights beat out of him by the hockey players going bam, bam, as he was like punching him in the head. That was sad to watch because the guy was like literally getting like brain damage from this guy and he kept coming back for
I don't think
more.
I've ever been there on a golf course. So like, about to fight someone. I don't think
Yeah, well,
that's.
that who wants to fight on it? I've actually, I remember in high school golf, there was a fight broke out on the first tee once. One of my teammates was not the best playing partner, and he started a fight. But yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah, the point is that you have this choice. Do you let this person into your brain as best you can, or do you shut them out as best you can as well? Like we have a choice there. I chose to shut him out as much as I could. And I was proud of myself for actually like kind of grinding out a good round and improving my position in the tournament, despite being really angry at the end of it and frustrated. But yeah, it was just, I don't think I'll ever see anything like that again as long as I play. Just someone just totally like chipping on greens, letting the bag behind in a tournament.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about some of the worst things that I've experienced, and maybe he's even listening to this. I can kind of look back on it and I'm like, it's funny, but at the time, it was just ridiculous behavior. But I used to have this guy when I was maybe 16, 17, 18. This guy was probably about 40. And he used to be kind of friendly with the juniors, which in itself is a bit weird. We used to go out with him. He was a good player, so I enjoyed
Hey,
playing
young
with him.
fellas,
He had a car, so he used to take us to different golf courses and things
this
like
sounds a
that.
little creepy. This
It
sounds a
does
little
sound a little
creepy.
creepy
Yeah,
now I
this
think
sounds a
about
little
it, yeah.
creepy.
But he was, competing for being the best golfer at the club. And at the time, I was like one of the best or the best amateur at the club. And so when we used to play events together, he used to purposely ask to play with me. And then when we would play together, you'd either do one of two things. He would either physically fight me on the golf course, like pin me down, things like that. And yeah, it's so weird now that I
It's
think
illegal.
about it.
This sounds illegal. This doesn't sound
Or
creepy. This is
yeah,
like breaking laws.
yeah, like punch me in the arm and stuff. So give me a dead arm before I'm about to tee off, things like that. Or I was a giggler as a kid. I still am.
Don't say he tickled you. Please don't say he was tickling you.
Probably. You would definitely make me laugh. So I'd be teeing off and he'd be talking at me and he'd be making me laugh, completely putting me off as I was
Yeah.
playing golf. And so, it'd get to the point where first start out laughing and joking, but then by the time I'm hitting it poorly and 8 over par, I'm like really upset. And then he would goad me even further. So that's probably the worst experience I've ever had. That
What a
hurt a lot of
creep.
my amateur golf. Yeah, it's now I think about it, it's
It's
like
like this. I'm just thinking of like the
super stuck
statute
on
of
the ears.
limitations here. It's clearly passed.
Um, yeah, there's another one. I can't think of it now. That's kind of brought
Yeah. I mean,
back some
everyone
cold.
has a wild, and again, like man, if you think about how I behaved in my 20s, like I've probably broken a few clubs. I was playing with friends and they're like, yeah, John's being an absolute jerk. And that's why if any people read my book, that's kind of the impetus for me changing my approach to golf in general. We had that episode last month where I smacked my golf bag last month in a tournament out of anger. So yeah, not perfect either, but yeah, there's a line, and the line was crossed here big time in my opinion. And we all have a choice when this happens you could think of it as a test, right? So we get tested in golf by ourselves, whether we're not playing up to our standards or our swing feels off or whatever it is that's challenging for that day. You shoot a 9 hole, you go out in a score that you really don't like. And then you have this choice to make being like, am I going to quote unquote eject and not care for the rest of the day? Or am I going to hang in there and create a separate challenge, whatever resonates with you, to stick it out and see what happens? And I would say unequivocally that choosing that second choice, that door number two, will lead to better golf overall. But then there's also external factors where, yeah, you have a peg partner who's tickling, sorry, not to, who's giving you dead arms or chipping on the greens or whatever it is.
That's why I used to break clubs as a kid, because I had this guy frustrating the hell out of me so much. I suppose it taught me to be very stoic in my later years as much as I can.
Yeah, so there is no reality in golf where you get paired up with someone all the time who you're going to get along with. And sometimes you're the person who they didn't get along with. Sometimes, maybe I have a friend who plays with me who hates, and I'm pretty quick with my aim pointing, but he hates that I do aim point. Drives him crazy. he says such a distraction to him that I hold my fingers up to read a putt. I was like, I'm sorry, we're just gonna have to deal with that. So, there's things that we do that are not perfect either. And then there's things that we witness that are not perfect either. And then you do have the choice. Do I let them in or do I not let them in as best I can? And that is up to us. And I would say working on that part of your game, building that mental callus as best you can will lead you to be a better golfer, whether it's your own distraction or someone else's.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But it was wild. I still can't believe what I witnessed. I just was so shocked. And yeah, hopefully, I'm sure I'll witness something else that hopefully won't eclipse that. But if you play enough tournament golf, you do witness certain things where you're just like, whether it's just like, rules official taking a lot of time. There's just things that come up. I wrote this in my second book, The Foundations of Winning Golf, that you have to expect the unexpected when you compete. And the more you do compete, the more you will come across these situations so that next time it won't shock you as much and it won't derail you. But they come up. They do come up.
Yeah. Last event I played was that crazy one, the kind of greenkeeper's revenge ones.
Yes.
My goal for that, I knew it was going to be ridiculously hard. I knew I wasn't going to shoot a good score. It was just right. Let's grind this out. And if you shoot 100, you shoot 100. My playing partners did kind of give up on it, and so there was a point where they're kind of pinballing back and forth, and not. But it was so difficult. It was kind of expected in a
Well, that
way.
was kind of set up as like a kind of a jokish event, right? Like everyone
Yeah,
knew going like this was a serious tournament. It was set up difficult, but it wasn't like a full superintendent's revenge deal. Like that's
yeah,
you kind of go into that knowing like, oh, this is not, normal golf, the
yeah,
one you did.
yeah. Cool. We good?
All right, that's it for today. Adams got trolled and I
I'm gonna
witnessed
go
a
off to therapy now to
bizarre
talk
ejection.
about my suppressed trauma.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, wow. I don't think you've ever told that story in the show before. That
No,
guy
I think
is
I properly suppressed it. Yeah.
that is creepy, creepy behavior.
I think I
Very
saw.
creepy.
Oh, I tried to interpret it when I was going through it as when Tiger Woods' dad would like make a loud bang as he was making a swing or
Yeah, but
something
that
like
was
that.
his dad.
Yeah, I kind of
Not some
interpreted it
random
as that.
dude.
So okay, this is gonna make me better. These distractions, if I can get through this is gonna
I
make me
mean,
better.
yes, they do make you better, but it also doesn't mean the person should do it also. So like,
It was
two
pretty
things can be
bad, but
true
the only
there.
way he could beat me was to join up with me and distract me so much, and he knew what buttons to push in me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, angry.
I would say to people, just compete clean as best you can. Feels
Yeah,
better to beat someone when you don't have to do tricks. And yeah, I've had people try and pull tricks on me too. I don't appreciate it. It's their right if it's within the rules. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. But to each their own. Anywho, we'll wrap it up there. Where can everyone find your stuff, Adam?
AdamYoungGolf.com if you want to get better so you don't get so frustrated with yourself. AdamYoungGolf.com. I've got plenty of programs there that'll help you. John, where can people find you?
And if you do want more help in competitive situations, I did write a book on that called The Foundations of Winning Golf. So you can check that out on Amazon. Thanks to everyone for making it this far in the episode, and we'll see you next time with a new one.